Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Coffee Chat Florida. Joining me today is our advisor in Destin and Panama City, Alex. And my name is Chris Burns, and I am over in Pensacola. And we're going to talk about something today that's not the best conversation, Alex, but it's definitely something that people have to be prepared for. And you definitely need to understand what you can and can't do and what are some, tips to get to the other side of this in a successful manner. And I'm talking about getting laid off. So Alex, what is one of the first things that people think about when they're getting laid off that they should think about?
Well, one of the first things that you think about is when you get laid off, right? Your income streams stop, but your bills don't, right? And so to make that transition a little easier, we always suggest creating an emergency fund. Usually you think of an emergency fund as if there's a disaster and you need to replace your AC or whatever it might be, but it also can come in hand if you need income when you don't have a job, if you get laid off, because it does happen. So creating that, 6-month buffer of expenses, so that way you have a time to transition and you don't have to panic to accept a job you might not feel like might be a good fit, but you need the income. So this will allow you to set you up for the long term as well by creating that buffer so you can really take your time, do due diligence, and make sure you find something that fits for specifically you for the long haul.
Talking about the job too, one of the things that you definitely need to do is update your resume and make sure that it is up to date with all of your certifications or anything that you've done up to that point. And now it's more of a digital age. So making sure that you're on LinkedIn, maybe potentially working with a recruiter. This current environment is pretty advantageous for new hires, especially if maybe you're wanting to go from from 100% in office to maybe some type of hybrid status, or maybe even working from home. You might be able to come out of this on the other side better than where you started. You just have to start looking more digital. The days of checking in the classifieds or things like that, and just going in and dropping an application, that still exists, but it's slowly. I mean, not slowly. It's being phased out. So, what are some tips for maybe some of the older people who've been working 15, 20 years? What are some advice you can give them to help them with that digital side?
Well, as far as that digital side, right, it might be you might have a challenge, like you said, to see what's out there. So mentioned recruiters, you mentioned different ways of transition, right? There's always job development centers in local areas that can help you out. Something that really got us on this subject was there's a paper mill company near us in Panama City Beach that laid off several hundred of employees. And we found that, like you said, this is an advantageous job market right now. There is plenty of jobs to be had in most sectors, right? But they reach out and say, hey, look, we need to fill this position here. We need to fill this position here. So there is an easy, smooth transition for some of those employees. And hoping it's that way for everybody. But, it's just create a schedule, right? Stay busy. You used to not being on a schedule, or you're being on a schedule all day and then you just stop working. So staying busy, it can help keep your spirits up to line up interviews. I need to submit 5 resumes today. And then that way, eventually you run into the right thing that will be ideal for you.
Yeah, and having a schedule could potentially save you some money because idle hands normally end up spending dollars.
Yep.
Because you're bored.
You're bored.
So let's talk about the finance side of that. Okay, so you're leaving your current position, either voluntary or you're being let go. Most places these days have a 401k. So one of the things that we would tell people to take a look at is see what your options are and understand what your options are. I mean, the simplest option is you can leave it where it's at and keep it invested the way you want. If you take a new job, you'll have the ability to roll the old 401k into your new 401k, or you'll have another option where you could potentially move it into a rollover IRA where you can either be in charge of the management or bring on a financial advising team to assist you with that. The big thing is understanding your options. And one of the things that a lot of people see when they enter into this phase is they may have never spoken to a financial advising team before. So reach out to a couple different firms, not necessarily like you plan on hiring them, but do pick their brain. a big portion of a financial advisor's job is education. And we can certainly help with making sure you understand your options, being able to help you make a good quality decision in what you're looking for. Alex, when it comes to that phase, reaching out to the old 401k provider may be a good start, but what might be an advantage of reaching out to a financial advisor that might help them make some more concrete decisions?
Right. Like you said, education, because what you don't know what you don't know, right? And so we find often that people who are laid off or have an old 401k is they don't know what to do with it. And they just leave it where it is because they don't know what to do, right? And so by sitting with an advisor, you can talk about opportunities, right? We can tell you what you're doing now and how.
You can even talk about tax strategies. Now,
right,
they'll have some taxable advantages they could potentially take advantage of.
Right. You can provide diversification. Right. More than likely, say you quit that job 10 years ago and it's still there. More than likely, your outlook has changed, your risk tolerance has changed, your family has changed. So the circumstances around your 401k probably need to change too. So sitting with an advisor, giving that education, talking about different opportunities, opening up your mind to other routes that can be taken by just leaving your 401k there can really pay off once it comes time to retire, because you make those decisions well in advance. That way we have plenty of runway to make changes and put a plan together, so that way you can retire at a target date and retire comfortably.
Well, Alex, let me ask you about the last part of this, right? People leaving the workforce will not be able to always carry the insurance with them, and it'll be a limited time that they'll be able to keep the old insurance from their firm. What are some best practices for these individuals to maybe make sure that they do before that runs out?
Yeah, right. The first thing that you think of is Cobra insurance. And that allows you to stand on an insurance program that helps you transition when you're looking for a job or looking for new health insurance. And what we're going to suggest is, look, once you're on that, it's time to schedule your appointments, your yearly checkups. You need to get your teeth cleaned. You need to, you have aches, pains, things like that. You take advantage of the insurance while you're on it, because, there is still a possibility that you might not have that job when you're no longer covered. And so therefore, you don't want to then go to a doctor or go somewhere and you're not insured and you're not covered, and therefore your medical bills get a lot more expensive. Therefore, digging your hole a little deeper, cutting into those emergency funds that you set aside, not necessarily for insurance, but it was to cover everything else: groceries, bills, everything that you have. So please take advantage of being on that Cobra for the short term and get those things taken care of. It'll pay off in the long haul, because it always, playing baseball, right? If you, the whole time you thought, please don't hit the ball to me, please don't hit the ball to me, the ball's going to get hit to you. And so same thing, right? Please don't get hurt. Please don't get hurt. I don't have insurance. It can happen. It really does. So please plan ahead. It seems disaster strikes at the most unadvantageous times. So please plan ahead.
A baseball player with a baseball analogy. That's why we like you, Alex. Well, hey, we really appreciate you coming on today and giving us some expert advice in navigating really just an unfortunate time. But don't get discouraged. That's one of the big things to take away from it. Most of the time, if you do the hard work, you'll be able to come out of it on the other side in a potentially better position than where you went in on it. So once again, look forward to having you on the show again. Thank you for your time and have a great day. This is Chris Burns with Coffee Chat.
Thanks, Chris.